Hello again. Today I thought I'd talk about one of those things that I think every guitarist needs to know, needs to have in their vocabulary, and that's the 12-bar blues chord progression. It's one of those things I think every guitarist needs to know. Now a chord progression is basically just a defined sequence of chords. You know, if I said, you know, we've got a bar of A minor followed by a bar of D minor, followed by a bar of G major, followed by a bar of C major, that's a way of describing the chord progression. Now if you've done any study of music theory around chord construction, or if you haven't, there's another video on here. We're talking about the basics of triads and triad construction. We'll talk a little bit about the music theory behind building chords. You know that you can build chords, you can talk about them as numbers, you can talk about how the chord relates back to the parent key. So that example I just gave, we're playing the key of C major. So what we had was a bar of the 2 chord followed by a bar of the 6 chord followed by a bar of the 5 chord followed by a bar of the 1 chord. You know, so we had 6, 2, 5, 1. We could take that progression and play it in another key. So instead of C major, we play it in D major. You know, we could have a bar of the 6 chord, which is B minor, followed by a bar of the 2 chord, which is E minor, followed by a bar of the 5 chord, which is A major, followed by a bar of the 1 chord, which is D major. So it's the same progression, but we're talking about when we're talking about chords in terms of numbers, so how they relate back to the key. Now the 12-bar blues chord progression is just a particular arrangement of chords, it's a particular sequence of chords. And there's a few little variations and embellishments on it. The most basic variation of it is 4 bars of a 1 chord followed by 2 bars of a 4 chord, 2 bars of the 1 chord, 1 bar of the 5 chord, 1 bar of the 4 chord, and then finally 2 bars of the 1 chord. So it gives you 12 bars. So if we thought about that in the key of, say, C major, we'd have 4 bars of C major, the 1 chord, 2 bars of F major, the 4 chord, followed by 2 bars of C major again, which is the 1 chord, 1 bar of G major, the 5 chord, 1 bar of F major, the 4 chord, followed by finally 2 bars of C major, the 1 chord. Now if I play that through as a progression, you should recognise this, because it's something that occurs so much in music, you can't, this can't have escaped your attention. Okay, that should sound familiar to you. 4 bars of 1, 2 bars of 4, 2 bars of 1, bar of 5, bar of 4, and then 2 bars of 1. You can take that and we can play that progression based on any root note. So if we took that and we played that in the key of A, we have, you know, A, D, A, E, D, A. Take that and play it anywhere on the neck. That's the basic progression. Of guitarists get together and, you know, they just want to jam on something. That's quite a common place to start. You just want to get warmed up, get into the swing of it. Just okay, right, you know, 12-bar blues in A, and just jam on that, because everybody knows 12-bar blues. A few variations on that, which I'll talk about now. If we introduce 7th chords into this, we can get some interesting sounds. A bit, no, maybe it's not jazzy, but certainly a lot more colourful than just playing the basic major chords. Now 1 or 2 of the chords I'm going to use from here on in aren't diatonic. Some of them contain notes that don't belong to the key. You will find this in music. You will come across outside chords or borrowed chords that have been borrowed from another key. It doesn't make it wrong. You know, there's no such thing in music particularly as wrong. There's things that don't follow music theory to the letter, but you're allowed to have these little variations. If they sound okay, music theory, you know, particularly in contemporary styles like blues and rock, you can treat it as a guideline. Okay, now one common variation with the 12 bar blues. This was the sort of the first variation I ever learned on 12 bar blues progression many years ago, is to play some dominant seventh chords in there. Now, a dominant seventh chord is like a major chord, but it also includes a flat 7 degree. So if we take that example we played before of A major, if we look at the key of A major, now the 7th degree of A major is G sharp. If we lower that by a semitone, we'll get G natural. If we play an A major chord but include a G natural note in there as well, we'll get the dominant 7th chord. Major chord, dominant 7th chord. So it's got slightly less resolved sound, and I've seen this used in a progression, so that initial first 4 bars just of the one chord can get a bit monotonous. So one variation on that is on the 4th bar of the one chord, go to playing a 1 dominant 7th chord. That's not quite such a happy resolved sounding chord, and it kind of wants to go somewhere, and the natural place for it to go is actually up to the 4 chord. So that's a nice way to break the monotony, just 4 bars of the one chord, and it moves the progression on. Yeah, 2 bars of the 4 chord, followed by 2 bars of the one chord again. And for a bit of colour, the 5 chord, we also play that as a dominant 7th. So in this case we're playing the 5 chord of A major is E, so instead of playing E major, we're playing E dominant 7th. 7th degree of E major would be D sharp, so flat 7 would be D natural, because the formula of the dominant 7th chord is 1, 3, 5, flat 7, gives us an E dominant 7th chord. The 4 chord will also play a dominant 7th on there, so playing a D 7th chord there, instead of having a formula 1, 3, 5, which is D excuse me, D, F sharp and A. We've got D, F sharp, A and C, because C sharp is the 7th degree of D major. Flat that, lower that by a semitone, gives us C natural, and then from there we can go 2 bars of the one chord again. Something you'll sometimes hear is if you're playing that progression on a loop, instead of playing 2 bars of the one chord at the end, you play 1 bar of the one chord followed by a 1 bar with the 1 dominant 7th chord, just to give it a little bit more tension and want to move it back into the start of the progression with the 1 chord again. I'll play that through so you get what I mean. Okay, so there's the 12 bar blues chord progression. Should have heard first time through on the last bar, on the 12th bar we played a 1 dominant 7th chord. Last time through just finished on the normal 1 major chord. So that's one little variation there, just making it a bit more interesting by using 7th chords. I'm going to show you another example now, which again, this should be quite familiar, this should sound familiar to your ears, and that's using a chord with a 6th degree in it. What we're going to do is basically play, if you've seen a power chord shape, a power chord that's got a 1 and a 5, going to play that chord shape just using the 1 and the 5. Sometimes if you're playing a power chord you'd have an extra root note on the octave. We're not going to do that, we're just going to play the root and the 5. But we're also going to be using a 6th note. So if you think the 5th degree is there, so in the key of A major we've got the 5th degree of E, 6th degree of A is F sharp, just 2 frets up from the E natural here, so we'll go up to there. It's a little bit of a stretch, you might need to practice this a little bit. We're going to have a chord with an A and an F sharp in it. That might sound a bit strange, it's a chord you're not used to hearing, but if we play that with a shuffle pattern alternating between the normal rooted 5th chord and the rooted 6th chord, you get something which I think you'll recognise. Yeah, that should sound familiar. And we can take that same pattern and move it around from the 1 chord, the 4 chord and the 5 chord to get a fairly familiar 12-bar blues chord progression. Okay, now there's another variation on that, slightly bigger stretch. It brings us back to using 7th chords, because what we can do is, if you think about that chord where we're playing an A and an E, a 1 and a 5, we can also stretch up with the little finger then. How about we stretch up another semitone from the 6th degree to a flat 7th degree? Now that's quite a big stretch, but it's worth doing because you get a sound like this. So that's a nice interesting variation, so one that you should recognise. A 12-bar blues chord progression says it's a great one to jam on, everybody knows it, and you'll hear it in so many styles of music, particularly if you listen to blues. There's so many songs that are based around that progression. It's one of those things seriously suggest just go away, practice it, get familiar with the sound of it, because you'll get so much mileage out of it in your playing. You know, once you're familiar with the pattern behind it, the 1, 4, 5 chords, you know, look for ways to play it in different keys. You know, we talked earlier there about playing it in C major, some examples there in A major. You know, think about what happens if you played in the key of E major. You know, what chords would you use for that? What chord shapes? You know, if you played it with 7ths, you know, in the key of E major, you'd be wanting an E7 chord, you know, an A7 chord, a B7 chord. All those different chord shapes, so it helps to extend your chord vocabulary, and it's good fun to play. It's great fun to jam on. So leave it there, something for you to get your ears around, get your fingers around and practice. I think you'll get a lot of mileage out of it, and you'll enjoy playing it. And I'm sure once you get together with other guitarists who will also know the 12-bar blues chord progression, I'm sure get jamming with them and, you know, have fun. Okay, so that's all, and hope to catch up with you in another video soon. Bye for now.